Good morning, everybody. It is Friday. I don't know if you care about Friday. I don't. It's just another day. But yeah, I'm really happy to be here. Happy to be sharing the wisdom of the Tao with you. If you're not familiar with what Tao of the Day is, it is a show where I come on and I invite you to pick a number between 1 and 81. So the Tao Te Ching consists of 81 chapters of enigmatic wisdom and all sorts of woo-woo stuff about the universe. But when we break it down, it all is true. So we all have subjective experiences of the world, but that subjective experience is guiding us to understand the objective truth. There isn't an objective experience, but there is an objective truth. That objective truth is what we could consider Tao. You could consider that objective truth God or consciousness or the universe or whatever. It is the underlying motivation of all of nature. It is that which drives you. Now, when we talk about free will, I say you have the free will to tell the story of your experience, and you have the free will to either surrender or resist the experience that you're having. But all of that notwithstanding, you're just experiencing Tao. You're experiencing life through Tao. No matter what your story is, no matter how much you want to resist or surrender to it, this that's happening right now is what's happening. And this was always going to happen. Now, are there multiple universes and multiple yous and all this? Yes, those things are happening as well. But here you are. You may have experienced moments where you've jumped timelines, where you've jumped into a new timeline because you've made a shift. You made a shift in your life. You made a shift in all that you do. We're going to bring up a guest and see if we can chat a little bit about the Tao. Teresa, how are you? Teresa Terbrock, you with me? Yeah. So not everybody knows about this. Donna Tortora's with me, and I'm going to swap Teresa out for Donna as well, because Donna was with me as well. Teresa, if you want to come back up, definitely do. Donna, how are you? So a lot of people are new to the app and might not know how it works, but I invite you to chat a little bit. Donna, how are you doing today?
Great, thank you.
Good. Thanks for joining me. Have you heard this show before?
Nope.
No? Are you new to the app?
Yes.
Yes. Did you mean to come up and talk with me?
No, I was just listening, but...
Would you like to talk with me?
Not at the moment. I'm still having the first cup of coffee, but thank you. I'm listening.
Well, I'll let you. I'll drop you off if you don't know how, and then we'll catch up another time.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Okay, so this is Tao of the Day, and Tao of the Day looks at the Tao Te Ching. So for Donna and Teresa, thank you for being interested in this program and for checking it out. So the Tao Te Ching is an ancient text. It was written about 600 BCE, and it's a Chinese text, and it's been translated many times. And I have a translation, a new translation as well. And what I ask you to do is pick a number between 1 and 81. So usually what I would do is when you come up, I'd just be like, hey, how are you doing? What's going on in your life? Just little things. And then I'd ask you to pick a number. And that's it. And then once you pick a number, it's going to be kind of like similar to a tarot reading or an oracle reading where the number you pick has a certain information. And that information is specifically for you because this is the number you picked. It is within ourselves that this text, I mean, it's been around for millennia. It's in our DNA, right? So here I went ahead and just picked a random number, 54. And 54 is entitled Observing Virtue. Tend to Tao in your life
and it will never be uprooted. Hold fast to Tao, and it will never slip away. Filled with Tao, respect the children, and they will respect the children. That simple virtue will continue for every generation. This can only start with an individual. And when her virtue can be realized, she will cultivate it in her family, and it will become great. They will cultivate this virtue in their community, and it will continue to grow, naturally spreading across nation and becoming abundant. Because it is abundant, it will touch every part of the universe. How do I know this is true? By quietly observing myself. So, this is my Tao for today. This is the number that I'm selecting. I've selected 54, observing virtue. So, the virtue that we're talking about here is this idea that we're tending to Tao in our life. We're tending to this moment. We're tending to this objective truth. Even though my entire life is subjective and every experience I'm having is subjective, we are constantly looking at the objective truth. And the objective truth isn't something that I can arrive at by simply being lost in my subjective experience. My subjective experience could guide me to victimization, could guide me to thinking I'm right, could guide me to thinking other people are wrong. And when we read Tao and when we look at Tao and all of these things, we realize that, because what I say is Tao helps us live a more reasonable life. And a reasonable life means a life in which we're not asking other things to change for us. So taking that into consideration, and we look at the early lines of this number 54, we see, tend to Tao in your life and it will never be uprooted. Hold fast to Tao and it will never slip away. Filled with Tao, respect the children and they will respect the children. This simple virtue will continue for every generation. So, respect the children and they will respect the children. Does this mean children? Like literally? Yes. But if you've read the Tao with me before, you'll know that your actions create children. Right? Every action has a consequence. Every action has a thing that happens because of it. When you go to school and you learn something, you can go out into the world and get a job from that which you learned. So that's a child of your education. But every day, if we wake up and we read something in the newspaper, if we get upset at something, that creates an environment in which a child experience will be born from that. If you had a traumatic experience in your life and you then focus on the world from a place of fear, the way the world is going to present itself to you is through the children of that fear. That fear that you put out in the world will come back to you. We've experienced, we've read about this before in Tao. So we have to be able to always look at all of these verses from a really broad perspective. When we look at it from a broad perspective, we can see, here are the children of my actions. And if I respect the child from my action, and I don't try and fold it over on itself and say, I was a victim, and having been a victim, I am going to create a child experience of that in which I am further victimized. And I don't and then I don't like that or all of these things. But it's like, oh no, here is a child that I produced because I was a victim. I need to have grace with myself around being that victim, right? Like, because I'm not a victim, right? I had an experience. And then I need to have grace with that and then respect the child that came from that, love that child that came from that victimization, let's say. And then they will respect the children. So as one event turns into another event, which then turns into another event, it's not just folding over on itself and making things worse. You are starting to unfold that. You respect the children and they will respect the children. But every time you don't respect the child, and you don't respect that they are a child of your actions, that they are a child of a traumatic experience, they are the child of reaction, then it doubles over on itself. Does this make sense? I mean, it makes sense in my mind. But I hope that is landing, because that's really what this is. Like, tend to Tao in your life. How do you tend to Tao? Tao is this unimaginable, underlying root of the universe. How do you tend to that? How do you tend to that like you would tend to a garden? Well, moment by moment, action by action, thought by thought. One thought is going to lead into another. That one that it led into is a child of that initial thought. Eventually, we have to let go and give those space, right? And let's say, like, because I'm coming out of addiction, for those of you who have listened to me before, for those of you who are new, I have 23 years clean and sober. And a big aspect of that is because every day there's a new child of an experience that I have to tend to. I could turn to drugs and alcohol at any point. I even got 23 years, but I could turn to those at any point to escape or to do whatever I want to do. But if I'm tending to my life, I have to tend to the craving, right? Because the craving is coming from thoughts. So the craving is a child of an experience that I had, a child of something that I have cultivated in my life. And then I want to be able to deal with the craving. How do I deal with the craving? Well, I learned how to judge. So I judge myself, I shame myself, I do all of these things. And that's not respecting the child, right? Like, that's reactionary. That's doing things, that's living under the influence of all of these things. This is why I talk to my clients about, look, one, you're going to do it until you don't. Right? You're going to do this thing that is disrespectful to yourself and others until you don't. And recognizing that you don't like that you're doing this, right? This is where, filled with Tao, respect the children and they will respect the children. Look, I don't like that I'm doing this. But this thing that I'm doing is a child of the experiences that I've had. And I need to respect it. I often talk about this as like an Oreo cookie. You can't not like an Oreo cookie because they are designed to be liked. There's no way around that. However, you can and will not like that you're eating the fourth or fifth or sixth one. I mean, I don't know how many sleeves one would have to eat until they can recognize they actually don't like that they're doing this, But eventually, you will not like that you're eating these Oreo cookies. Even though you still like Oreo cookies, you will not like that you're eating this one. Once you recognize you don't like that you're eating this one, you don't have to stop eating them. You just recognize that you don't like that you are. This is respecting the child. Because the child is the child of an experience that you had maybe when you were 3 years old. You don't know. Who knows? Who knows how long you have been escaping the feeling that you're having with food or with Oreo cookies? Who knows how long? And you're not going to get to the bottom of it right now. You're in the middle of doing it. Like, this is a time to respect this child of your actions. Your actions yielded this event. Your actions yielded this way of responding. And so you respect that child. You say, okay, I respect you, but I am going to also recognize that I don't like that I'm doing this. I don't like that I'm doing this, and I am going to do it until I don't. So today, you don't like that you're doing it, but you continue and you recognize you don't like that you're doing it, and you give yourself enough grace to say, I'm going to do it until I don't. Because it's not judgment, it's observation. And you eat. That's fine. Or you smoke, or you use drugs, or you drink, or whatever it is. It's okay. You've done it before. You've done it before many times, and you'll do it again, possibly. But you'll do it until you don't. The next time you do it, you come to new awareness quicker. You realize, oh, I don't like that I'm doing this, faster. That's the child now. This is the child of being aware. Addressing the child of being afraid. Now, you're going to continue eating them again. I don't like that I'm doing this, but here I'm doing it. I'm going to do it until I don't. One day I won't. Is this the day? No. And then you continue until you find the day in which you don't. And that's how we respect the child, because then that action will respect the child. JK, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Did you mean to join me?
I did, yes.
Okay, good.
I did. I just wanted to say I do listen quite a bit, but I was listening to what you were saying about, these experiences, and it's funny, I'm in an experience at the moment that is blatantly a repetitive one. It's the same thing. And it's, I have a family member who's not doing well. I don't think it's a life or death thing, but they don't know exactly what is causing this. There's some, what they deem abnormal physical manifestations of a condition, and everybody guesses. And the first time
we do. We love doing that, don't we?
Oh gosh. And, the first time I was in this experience, there's a whole host of things going on, but, at that moment, I looking back at that, there's a lot of things that I would have decided to approach a little differently. And I'm definitely trying to learn, because it is something, when the same thing happens twice. Number one, I look at it, today, I don't think I would have looked at it that way then, but today I look at it as an opportunity to learn. Because it's obviously something I got to get down, because it's not always that, things represent them or present themselves exactly. Well, it's never exactly, but it's so similar that you can see, hey, you're in this again.
Yeah.
Here we are again.
It's hey.
Usually it's little different versions, but no.
Right. There's always a different backdrop, but it's the same play.
Yeah. But sometimes you can't see it as easily, right? Sometimes you're not really sure, and it takes a while. The ones that you're reading the same script,
right.
Those are the ones you're like, the universe is flashing a strobe light at your face.
Yeah, it's also important to recognize that those scripts could be completely reversed. Like you might just be reading it from the back page forward, because it's like, oh, no one respects me. And then, oh, I don't respect somebody. It's like, those are the same stories. Like, we're having
true.
this, we're having this experience. And there's just because we define, you might define this as pain, this experience as painful, but pleasure's just the other side of it.
Yeah. And it's funny because, I know you have your diagnosis of MS and, this is something that's presenting like an autoimmune, but when doctors don't know an answer,
they don't say that.
They go, no, they don't. And they give you something. And it's comical because the something we got last time was, it was like, it wasn't even like a 1% type, thing where, 1% of the people, it's like the 0.02% of the whole world has this. And it was so left field and came out of nowhere. I'd like to think, my loved one is that unique, but it's really unlikely. And it didn't even really fit, and it was funny because looking at this time and I go into a mode of trying to figure it out. And then, I still do, and I'm better at it now because I'm not becoming as obsessive about it. But I still do look and I still try to, but I try to allow space for inspiration because it's not going to be me that figures it out. It's going to be maybe something I inspire somebody else, by an off the wall comment that doesn't make sense to anybody but that person. But anyway, going through this, but I'm trying to look at it as a different opportunity and hopefully, I don't know that we'll get a resolution. And one of the things I offered to my loved one is, if you get a name associated with this condition, whatever it is, I said, you're going to be put in a box. It's really hard to get out of that box.
Yeah.
I said, because think about the box they put you in last time.
Right.
And then you feel the need to try to convince folks that, no, I don't fit in that box,
Or you convince yourself that you do.
That's right. Yeah, you could do that too. And this box was a tough one to swallow. It was, basically they were telling, and the way it was presented, and maybe this is just the way we heard this, or I heard this, they don't know what's wrong with you, so it's a psych condition. Well, probably not. Because I'm, for me, if they told me that, I might have took a, different approach, but this person has no documented. I mean, this is not just a regular, everybody, has mental health issues and all that. It was you are basically making up your condition. You are so out there that you're manifesting these physical symptoms on your body, know? And we're talking about a kid. So that was hard. And as a parent, you become, what do you, and we talked about it and we did use it as an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? This is, and again, reiterating that, hey, do you want to be in that box? Yeah. So there's beauty in not knowing because you're not in this box. The downside is, how do you get from A to B? Because this thing, whatever it is, causes some debilitating symptoms where the last time it was, inability to walk. And it's not from weakness, it's from pain. So it's not, but it happens, and the pain never went away completely. They got mobile again, but the pain, always that nerve pain remained in the body. And, that's something that they're going to have to struggle with. And I keep saying, I don't know if we're going to know an answer. I don't know if we're going to have a cure, and we're just going to have to go through it. We're going to try to just keep going one day at a time, one moment at a time. But I'm trying to allow what I didn't do last time, which made me think about a lot of what you said, was one of the things I didn't do was allow that person. influence was an understatement, because I was so caught up in trying to figure it out, and it was from a place of love, which often things like that come.
Well, here's the like, I do want to kind of speak before we get too far. Because one, you're having an experience in which you are unable to comfort your loved one.
Mm-hmm.
That has nothing to do with their pain, their disease, whatever it is, their autoimmune disease, their experience. It has nothing to do with their experience. This is, you're having a completely separate experience to them in which you cannot comfort a loved one. I would probably venture to say, as a child, you were asked to do work that you were unable to properly accomplish and feel, or had felt as a child in your home, as if you weren't, like, are you a second born?
No. I'm essentially an only child because of the age difference, but I can relate to what you're saying because I was in that position.
Yeah, see,
and
here you go.
I do recognize exactly what you're saying as far as it being my experience and my hang up that not forced me, but influenced me to behave in a certain way. And it was my stuff, right? That made that, happen. And this time, and looking back and I'm still it's still a struggle. It's not a easy task, but this time, I'm not making decisions on behalf of.
Good.
And it feels good. It feels right.
Good.
It feels like it's something like it's hard, but I know that, if I don't, right, if I go the other way, I didn't like that I did that. I will tell you that much because it's something that I've been trying to get past and work through. And it's hard because I look back at that moment and I say, oof, that was not me being me,
No,
because I don't want to be that person.
Right.
And so I'm making more conscious.
Good.
So I'm trying to live a more reasonable life, as you often say.
Yeah.
And it is difficult because it's easy to get caught in the rabbit hole. And like, even we have other stuff going on as everybody does,
of course.
And, we're having some visitors and I acknowledge this as something that I don't like that I do, but it's not something I'm still eating that Oreo cookie.
That's right. Yeah, that's okay.
I like to have my home nice, and welcoming. And right now it's not because we had water damage and there's walls ripped out. And I'm like, this is the worst possible time. And so of course I'm trying to rush and I'm upset last night. And the one thing, and I look at that experience, I didn't like that I was upset, but I did like that I didn't take it out on everybody else.
Right.
I had my moment. I had a few tears. I released whatever the energy was.
Good.
And for the most part, I moved past, and then we go again today. But what's going to get done is going to get done. And I do acknowledge that, but I just like to right now give myself a little extra stress because
that's right. And it's okay. And it's fun. Like, it's just like, oh, look at me freaking out over here. And that's the thing. That's like, don't take it so seriously. Just kind of be like, oh, look, I'm going to freak out now and I'm going to go off and do this and I'm going to be angry and but I'm not taking it out on other people. That's nice. That doesn't mean you won't today. Today you might.
Oh, yeah.
And that's okay too. It's always okay for you to go ahead and do those things. You've done it before, right? You're going to do it again, but you can recognize, as you have been, that you don't like that you're doing this, and you're going to do it until you don't. You're going to worry about your house until you don't. And your house, and just because you are willing to see it from that perspective, your house may be like, oh, well, because you're willing to do this until you don't, let's put you in a position to maybe push you over the edge a little bit until you don't, like
Yep.
the universe is going to respond to your willingness to do the work, and it will give you more opportunities to step up.
The lots of work that needs to be done.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of people don't want to do the work at all, because they're just like, it's too much. But then it continues to couple, it continues to fold over itself. And, just like, that ancient story of like, oh, you can break a twig, but if you bundle them together, you can't break them. You know what I mean? And so it's like, but that's your illness. Like, that's your trauma. Like, trauma couples up and you can't break it. And that's why you got to start separating them out one at a time. Your inability to comfort your loved ones, right? You have a story somewhere in your life in which you were given the responsibility to offer comfort or to solve problems, and you were unable to do that.
I gave myself the responsibility, which was even more interesting. And as a child, I took the response. It wasn't given to me, to be honest. It was something I put on myself.
Now, this could be from
very
past,
interesting.
This could be from past lives. It could be, I mean, you said the distance is like an only child between you and your siblings. And so it could be about that. It could be about the fact that you were the child and you had to step up. And, I don't know if your parents were older or younger. So, but it's like you have to do this because you put it on yourself. And it could be past lives. It could be just generational because we all, and I've talked about this before, this idea that we are an egg in our parent in the womb of our grandparent. And so we literally were in the body of our grandparent. And so we experience all of the trauma and all of the lives that they've experienced. Now, you're going to drop off in about 10 seconds. What I would love is, if you have the time, please come back up and pick a number.
Okay.
If you come. All right. So you should have just dropped out. And if you can come back up and then we can pick a number and see how we can explore a little bit of this, a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah. It is. And you're right on. And thank you for that, because it's very true. I mean, the household and the environment I grew up in was with a lot of substance abuse. So, and there's a lot of other stuff that I'm sure is multi-generational. I know is multi-generational because, those people are still alive, but it's also probably stems further back. But, I mean, that's the self-responsibility that I put on, and I was always angry about it,
Yeah. And the thing is like, you're trying to control.
Yes. And that's exactly what I do, and that's something that at least I do. I am aware, aware, kind of a little bit of there's always two sides, right?
Right.
Thing. And some days it feels great and some days it feels like poo-poo. And, but anyway, that's that. But I have, there's a lot of stuff, but I think we all have a lot of stuff, and that's okay. But I like what you have here, because it really puts a lot of stuff in perspective, and it gives me a lot of, a different perspective for me anyway than what I have previously been to work through. I remember going to therapy years ago and, why won't you tell me how you feel? And I was like, because why don't you cry about this? I said, because that's not how I feel. I said, why do you want me to feel something you're telling me? Now I was like in 8th grade when I said that, but I remember despising that woman because she wasn't happy until I broke down. And finally I did give her a big presentation. Oh, we made so much progress. And I was like,
Well, and
I missed my calling in theater.
Right. That's the thing with therapy. It's like, and even coaches and stuff, they almost pride themselves on making people cry. Because there is breakthroughs there, but getting angry is just as much of a breakthrough. Like, it depends on who you're talking to. It depends on everything. But when we have, and this is problematic that we have these visual cues in the world, like, oh, you showed me that you're angry. And it's like, no, that's not how I express anger, though. But it's like,
exactly.
The way that I perceive it, that was anger. And it's just like, well, that's on you, sweetheart. Shit ain't.
Oh, yes, I agree. That is so true. And I never thought of it that way, but thank you, because that's very, 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 very true. And it was just, and it didn't matter because, you see, one of the things I realized was I was having trouble coping every day, day to day. Yeah. I was having trouble living my life, period. Right. And I wasn't ready to go back to that trauma. That wasn't what was going on. And nobody ever cared to, ask the question. And like, I finally found the words with one person at one time. Yeah. And it's nice because now I can identify, hey, thank you for the input. And now I go to the next thing because we're done, kind of thing. But, it was something that I didn't have the words for then, but I was not functioning on a daily basis. And so I needed help getting me to be able to look and function, in a reasonable way and have a reasonable relationship with life. And the experience that I was having, just getting up and getting dressed, and people, and a lot of times, especially I think child therapists, they want to get down to the trauma. And sometimes you're just not ready.
Well, how could you be? You're not even fully developed yet. We treat children like they're adults. And the thing is, when I talk about addiction and stuff, I always say, look, I talk about recovering to who you are. However, if you're not ready to do that, I can't work with you. Yeah. Because if you need to recover from, which you were experiencing traumas that you had pacifiers that you were engaging every day, which was either lay in bed or disassociate or whatever it was you were doing, that caused life to be even harder. When we're talking about 54, we're talking about this idea of respect the children and they will respect the children. You feel this way and pacify without respecting that way which you feel, because everybody around you is telling you that you feel wrong.
Yeah. And that's what it kind of gave me the thought to come up, was when you were talking about that, and I was thinking about what's going on right now, and the fact that I'm owning my own experience. Right. I feel bad that they are having their experience, but I have no control over that. But I can control how I am doing. Yeah. Right. And then that's the part, and letting go.
And that is going to create. And that's going to create a more healing environment for your loved one to be able to tap into and heal themselves.
Yeah, and I do feel a different energy. And the other thing is not taking all the energy. This is something I struggle with, is taking all that energy back when it's not, it's not going to be the same, or that feeling, when you're in sync with somebody, you feel like. Yeah. So it's one of those things that, I might get a very curt response back when I say something loving. And before I would go off on all kinds of tangents, they hate me. I really screwed up. And, I had this whole story about that response, and I don't choose to make up anything. I just say, all right. All right. And if it's too much, I say it's too much. Yeah, but I'm getting a lot better at not saying it's too much about everything. Everything that came back was always too much, Yeah. Like nobody could do anything right. And I was feeling that. And it was really something, a big revelation for me when I was like, that's what I do every damn day to everyone else around me, is and that yourself. They couldn't do anything right. Yeah. And I hate that. I don't like that feeling. I use hate intentionally.
Let me ask you to pick a number between 1 and 81, and then we'll see what the Tao has for us.
All right, let's see. 23.
23. Speaking from Tao. So this is going to be good because of just what we were talking about. You being able to receive and it be enough sometimes. So this is entitled Speaking from Tao. When you speak, say what is to be said and no more. I think that's probably that's good right there. We can stop right there. but we're going to continue. When you speak, say what is to be said and no more. Neither wind nor storms last all day. Nature expresses itself completely. No matter how wild it may get, then it returns to stillness. When you open yourself to Tao, you say what is to be said. Everyone will agree because when you speak from Tao, only Tao can be heard. He who aligns with Tao will only hear Tao. He who aligns with manifestation will only hear manifestation. He who aligns with failure will only hear failure. How it is heard is not your concern. Trust what is to be said, and everything will fall into place. What are your thoughts?
That is a really big lesson for me, just in general. And I do think that, I had an experience recently where something came out of my mouth, and after it did, I said, "Oh, I don't know that I wanted to say that." But the way, I guess I needed to. It was basically, let that be a lesson to you, is what was said. And, that was said out of context because during that same time that you're thinking that I'm not present for you, there was a whole lot going on in my life,
Right.
And you don't know what's going, so let that be a lesson to you too, because you didn't know what was going on in my life either. And it wasn't, I didn't say that. I just said, you know what, I did what I had to do. And the way it came out was almost like, it was wild because I rarely have that experience because a lot of the times I don't just say what needs to be said. That's like a big thing for me, but I've been practicing and trying and looking at why I feel like I need to say more, especially in times of defense. And I think there's another Tao about wielding your sword, and my mouth is a good sword, and words really do hurt. And I do think that, that's something that I'm trying to work through. Why do I do that? And I have some inklings as to, but who knows? Like you said, it could be something I'll never completely unravel, but I am working on changing that behavior because I don't like that I do that.
Right.
And I hurt from it. So anyway, I said this and I was like, oof, I didn't want to be harsh, but the way that it was received, it kind of just ended it at that point. And I wasn't mean about it, but it was a really beautiful experience because I was like, oh, okay, I get what that one means. And a little of that other Tao too, like I felt it and I felt the change in the energy. I felt the change so it was kind of beautiful because I said it without thinking.
Yeah, you were inspired to say it somewhere.
And then
you judged it. The thing is that the act afterwards was judgment.
Yes.
Right? So you have learned because of the experiences you've had as a child when you were trying to take control of everything and trying to make sure that you were you were caring for everything, that like judgment was part of it. It had to have been. Like, even not knowing anything about it, it had to have been, because that's all you would have known is judgment, right, wrong, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
By allowing yourself to be inspired and work from a place of inspiration, like I'm sure you have beliefs in which you're like, you can't just go willy-nilly doing just whatever you want.
Yes.
Right? And if you have thoughts like that, aligning with Tao is going to be difficult because Tao does inspire you, but it inspires you from that deep objective experience, that deep objective truth that is connected to everything, where it's like you can say, just like it says here, say what is to be said. You just said, well, let that be a lesson to you. And then that's it. You don't have to go in and explain the lesson. You don't have to do anything more. You can say that, and no matter how wild it may get, just like the weather, it will eventually yield to stillness. And so you can say that, and it can seem wild, but as it's heard, the person is aligned with hearing it, because how it's heard isn't your responsibility. Your responsibility is to let go and speak. Let go and touch that objective truth that's behind it all.
Thank you very much. And I will say that I think that's why I like Tao, is because it is difficult and it challenges me to do things a little differently. And it allows me to be okay with judgment and be okay with that part of myself, but also evolve it and be able to move forward with it and not have it put me in a box, I guess is a good word for it. Because that box, I feel like I'm outgrowing it. And it's funny because you go through, and I was always waiting for the shoe to drop, the other shoe to drop, Mm-hmm. And that's how I lived. And that's, we can go over, that's probably from a lot of stuff. But I will say that is not as scary anymore for me, because I'm able to see more beauty in these other experiences that I would call before bad, and I'm looking for an opportunity and trying to find that other side, the other side to the coin, and being more aware of what is it that I need to learn so I can get past this part, and move on to the next beautiful experience. And so, I think the challenge, because for someone like me who is very rigid, and learning flexibility through Tao is beautiful. So thank you for helping me on that journey.
Oh, I'm so glad to be a part of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you just dropped off. If you wanted to come back up and finish, that'd be wonderful. But not necessary. I know we've been on for about a half hour or so. So you go about your day, and I'm so grateful for that. Yeah, like judgment stagnates energy. I'm sure you've heard me say that before. So the judgment that you have, it's not bad. It's just how you've dealt with the world. And so you judge, and then you recognize, I don't like that I do that. And then you'll find more judgments behind there. I've talked to a number of people who are like, I got to protect my words. I got to really choose my words properly. So I don't sound like I'm judging. Well, you are, and that's okay. No big deal. There's nothing wrong with judging. Nothing wrong with being judgmental. It's wrong when you say I'm judgmental and I'm not aware of it and I don't care. It's like, now you're just living life without engaging. Like, this is a gift. Life is a gift. Engage it completely. Engage your life. When JK, when you talk about your loved one, your child, I think I gathered that. They're having an experience. Their life is a gift. And I know they're going to think of it, the pain that they're going through. I heard a friend of mine, their niece has an illness in which they're constantly in pain. And that's something that is, that's difficult. And they don't know. And it's really hard. But I wish them the best. Blossom, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm breathing and happy and alive and everything's great.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm doing wonderfully. My life is a gift received from Tao.
Yeah. So I'm in my van broke down today. The brake wouldn't work properly, and so I had to stop in this little country town and get someone to fix it. And I was on my journey down to Victoria, which is it's a few thousand k's away.
Okay.
So
that's a long journey.
was doing a long journey and stopping at my brother's place on the way. That's about 600 k's away, and I'm 300 k's away from there. And I couldn't keep going because my brakes weren't working properly, and I thought,
well, you could have kept going. You just might not have been able to stop. Keeping going doesn't seem like a problem when you don't have brakes.
And I thought going through a city without brakes, that would be a nightmare. So
yeah, because you'd have kept going, but you shouldn't be.
So I have to wait overnight now while they get the parts to put in the morning. So it's nearly 10 o'clock at night, and the back of my van has got the wheels have been taken off, and
You're on jacks right now.
Morning, yeah, I'm on the axle, and then and then the guy's coming back in the morning, and he's going to finish the job, and then I'll keep going.
There's something very, I don't want to use the word poetic, but there's something very just like, and I don't know what it is yet, but the van without, and now your brakes aren't working, and I know, like, is it like you're in the back of the van, and you mentioned that it's on the axle, so I'm guessing they removed the rear wheels or all of them?
Yeah, the rear wheel.
The rear wheels.
Sorry,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something interesting about all that. Just the imagery and the symbolism and everything. And I don't know how it connects everything, but you know, and the brakes energetically. So I look at things from a standpoint of energetics, right? Yeah. You can't stop, right? Like, wow, that's interesting. Yeah. Like that's like what other things in my life can't I stop? You know, that maybe need my attention. You know, right. Well, you know, like we start looking at topics and themes, and then we're like, okay, I'm sleeping in the back of my van that is stopped, and the rear wheels are removed, and we're waiting on parts. Like all of this is just a whole bunch of things. And what does that mean to me? And what is this? What, you know, maybe nothing. Maybe it's just, oh, your brakes went out, whatever. But I don't look at things that way.
You know, well, one of the things that I've been saying to myself for maybe over a year now is that I want to stop, and I want to go into the national park, and I want to spend some time alone and really get in touch with nature and everything and my deeper self and all that sort of, you know, that's what I really want to do. Mm-hmm. And I can't get there, you know.
Whoa. Maybe you are there. Like you are in so a gas station or wherever you find yourself, you know, is nature now.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
You know, like to be able to see it that way. And you are in your own nation just because it hasn't encapsulated this parking lot that you find yourself as part of its national park system. You are still part of the national landscape of nature of your own nation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've stopped. And you have time. Now, are you going to spend it being grateful that you are here in this national parking lot? Yeah.
No, I have no regrets. That's
no, of course you don't. Of course not. But I'm just saying, maybe you've gotten there and here you are. And maybe not. Maybe this is literally just your brakes went out and you got to take care of them. But let's go ahead and pick a number and see if we have any guidance there.
Okay. 71.
71. Beautiful. Ooh. Title: To Know We Don't Know. To know we don't know.
Yeah.
To be aware that one does not know is healthy for all things. Avoiding awareness of this is a current plague. By acknowledging you have been infected, you can become aware and move towards healing. The master has cured herself. She is aware that she does not know. She is healthy in all aspects.
Yeah. Beautiful.
That just like settles things. It's kind of like, it's like once I finish that, it's kind of like a sheet laying down on a bed. You know, like you pop it up and then you just let it settle.
Yeah.
I'm going to read it again and then we'll go into it a little bit more. To be aware that one does not know is healthy for all things. Avoiding awareness of this is a current plague. By acknowledging you have been infected, you can become aware and move towards healing. The master has cured herself. She is aware that she does not know. She is healthy in all aspects.
Yeah.
You don't know why you're here in this parking lot without these breaks.
Yeah.
And you don't know where this is taking you. You know where you're going, and that's fine. But you don't know where it's taking you. And there's a big difference there, right? Because you can, there's that one Tao that says, a good traveler may have plans. You have plans, but there's no outcome. You're not strict. You're not rigid. You're allowing this to be as it is.
And what happens with me is that I never feel bad about being stopped by something like this because there may be a reason up the road somewhere that I have to be there for some reason. I mean, to have to meet someone there. They're going to tell me something. I'm going to tell them something. Something can happen.
Right.
That wouldn't happen if I hadn't broken down,
Right. Or something won't happen that would have happened had you not broken down.
Exactly. That's right.
And you don't know what that is. And that's, I think a lot of people like the active side of it, but there's an inactive side of it where it's just like, well, I don't know why I was stuck here because I didn't meet anybody. I didn't do anything. Nothing out of the ordinary. Yes, but something out of the ordinary may have happened had you, and it might have been something very innocuous. Maybe you were driving down the road and, you'd hit a kangaroo.
Yeah.
Who knows what would have happened if you were driving down the road at a certain time. And just because that didn't happen, you wouldn't have any evidence that it could have. So it's just like knowing that you don't know, not trying to waste your time figuring out why, and allowing yourself to be here and aware that you don't know. Because to be aware that one does not know is healthy for all things. And what do we do in the first world? As soon as something happens, we try and know. That's why we have Google. That's why we have so many answers. That's why when waiting for a bus here in Chicago, I can look up and know when it's going to come.
Yeah.
It's healthier to not know. To be here and allow this moment to be as it is without having to know every little thing that's going to happen, how it's going to happen, why it's going to happen, or why it has happened.
No. That's right. You miss the magic if you don't have that kind of emptiness around the whole issue of being in a place where you didn't expect to be.
Right. It's filled with judgment. I was talking to JK. You miss the madness. And she even mentioned, she was like, she has to, I say it all the time. It's a quote of mine. It's just allowing yourself space, allowing yourself room for inspiration. Be here. Don't fill this space with judgment. Don't fill this space with knowledge. Just allow this to be, oh, look, there's crickets. Or, oh, look, this is where I am right now. Like,
Oh,
let's be
look,
here.
I fixed those pads that were too long for me, and I've sewn them up now.
Yeah. It's like, I have time. I guess I'll do this now.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the thing. A lot of people, they're like, I don't want to be bored. But within boredom, you wash your dishes. Within boredom, you do those things that need to be done that you've been putting off for too long, probably. It's like your life is trying to stop and say, hey, be present, be here, be aware that you don't know why you're here. And I know that you do that. And I like this, avoiding awareness of this. So it's a really kind of backwards way of going about it. It's like not believing this, but it's like avoiding awareness that not knowing is healthy. I'm avoiding being aware of that. I'm trying to not see it. It's almost like I'm blinding myself to see in the periphery of reality that not knowing is actually healthy. Avoiding awareness of this is the current plague. We're constantly knowing, even though as we're getting all of this news, we know it's unhealthy and we feel it in our body. As we're consuming all of this news, all of this information, it's like we can feel that it's unhealthy, and yet we continue to strive to gain more information.
Yeah.
And it's a current plague. By acknowledging you have been infected by that plague of avoiding being aware of it. Right? It's not the plague of knowing. It's avoiding being aware of the fact that not knowing is healthy. Because then we teach our children that, and we tell people that you need to know things and that you need to be connected.
It makes you feeling so guilty when you're with people who think that you ought to know something, and you say, I don't know, and then you're judged in some different manner. It's very strange, this world.
Yeah.
I often say I don't know something because I think it's better that I don't anyway.
Right.
I mean, it's better that I don't, because I don't.
Right.
It's okay for me if I don't know, but because I didn't have much education, and in fact, I hated education.
You and me both.
I hated school, and I hated when I went to university. I lasted 3 months, and I was just like, I can't walk around the campus with these people. They're horrible. They look down on me, and I can't stand it. I have to get out of here. So anyway, I didn't last very long. Maybe it was 5 months, but anyway, whatever it was. But I'm very interested in knowing things and looking up things and trying to learn things. But mostly, it's been a burden to me, and I'm realizing that even just this stopping now is about thinking about that and wondering, what is my life about? What am I meant to be doing? What is my passion, or what is my drive? What's the driving force? And I kind of know what it is, and it's okay. But there's also that thing of let it go, let it go, let it go. And
you just dropped off, so I want you to come back up and we'll finish that up. But I agree. I absolutely agree. It is very much about let it go. There is nothing that you need to know. You don't need to know. Like this idea that we have to answer what our purpose is, the idea that we have to answer who we are, what our life is for, and all of this, it's going to unfold for us just fine. And we don't have to put words to it. The first verse of the Tao says words are particular. Your life isn't particular. Your life is expansive.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I've just had that kind of meditation where I'm thinking, what it is that I'm meant to be doing, and then actually letting go and thinking I don't need to know. I just am on a journey, and that journey will tell me what I'm doing, where I'm going.
Well,
the journey itself will
the
guide me.
The journey will tell you where you've been. You know, where you're going is always a mystery.
Right.
And where you are can really only be seen in hindsight. Because if you started to define where you are, you wouldn't be where you are. You'd be where you're defining.
Right. Yes.
And so you just be here. This is where you are. And you know, it's interesting in our lives. I mean, I've gone through this and I've experienced this with other people as well. It's like the moment you know where you are in your life and what you're doing, that's when it's already ended. You know, it's just like, oh, I get it. The last 6 years of my life, I've been doing this. And then it's like, this is who I am. And then you plant your flag there. And then all of a sudden your life starts shifting in ways that you had no idea. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, this isn't where, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's right. I thought I was here, but I was already, and then it's always in hindsight. Because every time you're looking forward, you're lost. And every time you're looking around, you're just learning. Then integration has to happen. Once it integrates, then you're able to let it go. And that's when your mind goes, oh, I see it now. And that's really how life is. Like energetically something happens and then it puts it out in the universe and then it starts to happen. And then eventually your brain catches up and says, oh, this is where we are. And it's just like, not anymore, sweetheart. Not anymore. Like you can go ahead and define yourself as that, you know, but by the time you do, we're going to be somewhere else. And that's why it's like, be present, observe this. And any of those ideas that you have of the past, you can have them, but don't apply those to the present because the present is not the past.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming up and choosing 71.
Pleasure.
Good luck tonight. I hope you sleep well and get back on the road tomorrow. See your brother. You'll be there by the end of the day tomorrow, it seems.
Yeah, I will.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to you. And are you going to, like, I don't know if you even want this, but are you going to be able to have space in the home, like in a bed and all stuff like that?
Oh, my brother may offer that to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
if it's offered and you take it, I hope you have a nice bath and a good night's sleep.
Yeah, thank you, darling.
Absolutely. Love you, dear. Have a wonderful evening.
Love you. Bye night. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye. How do I get off?
I gotcha. Thank you all so much for joining me. This is Martin John. This is Tao of the Day. You can find links in my profile to my website. You'd be able to pick up a copy of the Tao Te Ching, and looking forward to connecting with you. For all of those that came up, thank you. JK, I appreciate everything that you said and everything that we shared today. Blossom, good luck tonight in that van. I love you. I hope you're feeling cozy and connected. All right. Until next time, keep recovering yourself.